Yeah, I feel a little bit bad about this.
I see it says sour, cherry sour, so I think I'm
No, it
already
is not
out.
a cherry sour. It is.
Cherry stout?
Yes, stout. Night
Still
Shift
out.
Cherry Stout. It's,
Night shift. Oh,
yeah, it's
boy.
from Rolling Oak Brewing Company in Grayling.
Doesn't have anything to do with nursing, does it? It didn't go well last time.
I thought of that when I actually picked this up because we had that, was it Night Nurse?
Yeah.
The Night Shift beer, and these are all called Night Shift. But I feel a little bad. We didn't get to drink it in a very expedient manner. Smells okay. It's like it's a couple weeks old and it's a growler, so that sounds fun.
Yeah, I do not want that much. And so on our show today, we do have a guest. Before we just keep going on, never introduce them because they're probably still in the intro.
I don't know where
Maybe.
I'll cut it in yet. Maybe right here.
Music.
Wait, don't turn the channel. You've tuned into High Gravity.
The show where we talk about beer, brewing, and bullshit.
Where the only thing we take seriously is the next round.
So grab a glass.
Fill it with something cold.
And enjoy the show. So we have Alex here, who homebrews. Nice little homebrew system, too, set up. You brewed at a bigger scale as well.
I did,
at a brewery.
yes. Yep, in Maryland when I was stationed in Maryland. I'm in the U.S. Coast Guard, so I've been all over the place. But while I was there, I was able to do some part-time work at a brewery that ran a 20-barrel system, and I also did some one-barrel small batch brewing there for them, and it was a really good time. Good brewing professional development, but tons of fun. I had a good time there.
Yeah, making beer's fun. Making a lot of beer's a lot more fun.
Yes.
And it looks like you brought us 5 different beers to taste.
I did,
I'm
yes.
excited.
Yes, I am a native of New Hampshire, and I recently went home to visit family, and I thought I'd bring some beers back for you guys to taste test, kind of get a feel of what they're doing in the Northeast. And I wasn't able to get everything I wanted to, but these are all a pretty good example of what's going on over there. So
I'm excited.
And then before we started, we had this cherry stout.
Yeah. So the story goes up behind this. I went to the brewery. I went to Rolling Oak Brewery after we did a canoe trip with my family, and they were very nice people, and their beer was really good. And I never buy growlers, but I saw they had a 9% stout. I'm like, I need to bring this home for us to try, and I feel bad because the man behind the bar, he's like, oh, tell me about your podcast. So, if you're going to drink our beer and talk about our beer, I want to, I want to see it. And so hopefully he checks it out and I can say that we drank his beer. I don't want to, be too critical of it because it's my fault for leaving a growler in the fridge for
I can
2
be critical
weeks.
right away because it's cherry.
Well, yeah, and I figured you wouldn't like it because it's cherry. It actually still tastes pretty good to me for being in a growler for 2 weeks, but it's never ideal to not drink it fresh. So I don't want to be too critical, I guess.
yeah, anything past 36 hours in a growler is not
It's
ideal.
not going to be fantastic, but it still tastes
I've had
okay.
worse.
Oh, I definitely. I've had way worse. We've had worse fresh beers on this show.
Very true.
We've had bottles explode.
Yes. I'm still so disappointed about that one. It was the double barrel oak one or whatever it was called. The very first one we opened to that stuff. So
I can't
hopes
drink
for
this. Not to be mean, but can't drink it.
No, it's not mean. There's plenty of things we can talk about. Johnny will drink it.
I don't drink everything.
Johnny doesn't hate. No, Johnny turned down the one.
It's unusual of you.
Yeah,
I don't remember
it
what
was
that
them-
one was,
The
but
first exploding bottle.
well, yeah.
I drank the second one though. That one was good.
Those weren't even supposed to be sour.
The second one I still think was. I don't remember the description on the bottle, but it was talking more about something to do with wine. And I just remember that one being good. What was it, like Pinot Grigio, I think it was supposed to be, or something? I don't know.
Pinot Grigio.
We want weird ones. I've got an IPA with me that was aged in gin barrels. I'm actually fairly excited for that one.
Gin is garbage.
I have some good memories with gin.
You shouldn't.
Not for recording. I'll tell that one off the air.
Yeah, we don't have to drink any more of it. I just wanted to make sure that we tried it.
I liked it.
Then hey,
There wasn't as much cherry as I was expecting, though.
well that
It was
could
very much more stouty.
yeah. I'd imagine that would have been a lot better fresh.
I would have said yes, but it has cherries in it. So, no.
I'm very disappointed in myself. And Mr. Jeff, I must apologize. Mr. Jeff gave me beer that was meant for you originally.
Sweet.
And it was the one brew with ice cream powder.
Oh, cool.
And I've been saving it to torture Darrell because I know he doesn't like that style.
I already tried the grape one, and
This wasn't grape. I don't remember. It was an ice cream one.
A grape beer.
it's grape, sour ice cream, vanilla.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think this was that.
No.
I was gonna bring it just to screw with Darrell, but
He gave me one too.
Anyways,
sweet, I have one at home. You're gonna do it again.
so since our glasses are empty, and I think we need something, maybe a palate cleanser, let's see if their canned beer is better than an aged growler. This one is Wipe the Sky. It is
Interesting.
not a big beer. It's only 5.9%.
I'll say it's like a 16-ounce can. It's not huge.
But
Come on.
anyway, I wanted to grab something else from them that wasn't a growler in the event that I didn't succeed growlering.
I might just pass it to you.
Smells good.
Ooh,
Wow.
it tastes good too. Actually,
I'm hoping it tastes as good as it smells, because that smells amazing.
it's called Wipe the Sky Vanilla, and it has that like wonderful was it like French vanilla ice cream kind of taste on the back end.
Yeah, very light bodied.
Yeah,
Especially for being darker beer.
it's definitely lighter bodied, a little dry. Oh, I fuck with that.
I like it, but there's something about the vanilla I don't like. And I'm picky with vanilla. I've had too many bad or fake vanilla beer, well, anything. So I'm always skeptical of vanilla. There's something about it I'm not quite into, but I like it.
Well, they had a beer, and if you ever get a chance to go to Rolling Oak, I recommend it. They have a beer that they put donuts in, and it's just it's a blonde ale, but with donuts. And it was just called Blonde Ale on their menu, and the picture had a baker with like holding a donut, and so I was like, well, what's the deal with that? He's like, oh, it's like a pastry blonde, and I was immediately interested because that's kind of unique.
You like blonde spaghetti?
Well,
Who
hey,
doesn't?
you know, brunettes too. This one's quite dark. But I've just never had anything that they're like, we put donuts in it, and it was good.
Yeah, the Blake's ones I've had of that were trash.
The Punchki beer
I haven't had 'em in a
at
while.
Baffin wasn't crazy good. I had one called Donut Panic, or Do Not Panic, huh? And I remember giving it a really bad review on Untapped, and the brewery actually reached out to me on Untapped and were like, where did you get that? That wasn't meant to be aged, you know, because apparently it was an old bottle.
Oh.
I bought it at some bottle shop in Colorado.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had no idea.
Yeah.
But their Donut Blonde was insane. It was so good. I actually bought a growler and took it with me and shared it with my family that night.
Nice.
And a lot of them didn't like it, but they drink Bud Light, so,
I'm sorry.
well, what can you do?
I mean,
Classic.
But it was really good. All their beers were really good on tap. I definitely recommend going to Rolling Oak. If you're ever in Grayling or on your way up north, stop through Grayling. They have several breweries. So,
the more I drink this, the more I like it.
yeah. I mean, there's more if you guys want more.
Is Grayling where the canoe place is? Canoe paddle beer?
Paddle Hard.
Paddle Hard.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
They have
I've been there.
They have a tap room, and then they have a restaurant tap room.
Remember it, there's a
We went there,
Shoothouse
too.
training facility up there. It's not open to the public, but
Yeah, we
There is
actually
one.
went to Paddle Hard before we went to Rolling Oak, but Paddle Hard, everything they had was like 5-6%. I wanted high gravity beers, and it was difficult for me to find them. But still, Grayling, good place to drink beer. I see you warming up your glass.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cold.
I like cold, so I just
You warm up your, especially the darker beers a little bit. You can pull some better characteristics out of it and stuff. So
Ideally,
trying to see if there's something else going on here.
I like the vanilla though. It's just
I
tastes
said it's
nice.
grown on me. At first, there's something I didn't like about it. Now I'm wondering if that was just from what we drank a moment ago.
That's why we needed a palate cleanser, and I figured
Yes.
I would give them a chance to
good call.
cleanse our
It's a
palates
very good
of their
call,
first beer.
Vanilla is one of those adjuncts that you don't want to cheap out on.
Yeah.
It gets expensive, but you can't start using just
Like you said,
plain
I've had
extract
so
off the store
many
shelf.
just generic or artificial vanilla things.
Yeah.
I can't stand the smell of it, and the taste is I'm so picky about it because I like real vanilla spoiled by good stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Would be a way to explain it.
Yeah, it is expensive too, but Madagascar and Tahitian vanilla both really good.
Oh, yeah.
And
I don't like
people
the
do like
beaver
to scrape
variations.
beans and stuff, and that's a
Yeah.
good way to do it too. But using the real stuff is worth it in the long run.
Far
for
better than getting
people,
it from
so.
a beaver, for sure.
Yep.
So rolling.
Phrasing, Johnny. Phrasing.
No, there's nothing about phrasing there. You
He meant it as it
understand
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So rolling oak, this one's definitely better than the first one,
Yeah, it's good.
Oh yeah.
I like this.
but it's light body. What was the percentage on this one?
5.9. Yeah, kind of what you'd
Not too
expect.
shabby.
It's a like a darker beer that I would.
That's good. I could
would
drink a
enjoy
lot
drinking.
of it.
Yeah,
I could
I'd
drink
several
like
of them.
2 or 3 of these in a row. Yeah, probably more. But it's good. I like it.
Yeah, so they were fun. It was a cool little brewery. They had a lot of different beers. They had quite an impressive selection and wine too. So even the wife enjoyed their. I can't remember which wine it was. By this point, I was, a little inebriated.
You kept sending us all pictures while you were up there.
Well, we spent like 4 or 5 hours on the river canoeing.
Nice.
And drinking the finest high quality Pabst Blue Ribbons.
Excellent.
That's
Excellent.
the way to go.
It is, you got to drink all day. You might as well enjoy yourself.
Yeah.
And then we went to Paddle Hard, and we had because we got off the river at like 3:15, which is super early.
That does seem really.
Normally we're getting off the river like 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And a fun coincidence, the place there, the company that owns the canoe rental place, they also own the dispensary across the street. So they have like signs at
So
their
Jim
canoe
was in
rental
his
place.
glory.
Yeah, they're like buy some pre-rolls for the river, and I'm like, don't mind if I do. And
No, are they like dipped in wax so you can still light them if they're wet, or like do they do something like that?
yes, but not the kind of wax that you're thinking of.
Ah, gotcha.
The different type of name for concentrate.
Yeah, I've never done like the closest thing I've come to floating down the river was actually diving in the river, or I did the New Year's Day. One of the dive clubs I'm in used to do a float down from the Blue Water Bridge in Port Huron, get out at the YMCA.
Speaking of, that's today.
Different float down.
Yeah, I know. But
Yeah.
the day we're recording this is float down in Port Huron.
Yeah, I did it the one time because they sold me on the fact that they serve champagne. You go to the big float.
It's
they have
pronounced
cups with
champagne.
champagne. All right, the champagne.
It's only champagne if it's from the Champagne region of France.
Knowing these guys is probably the cheap shit from Kroger.
The
Either
Champagne
way,
region in Kroger.
that was my sole goal, was to get there. And I never caught up to the float. By the time I finally did, we were almost out and they were out of it. So I never got any.
Bullshit.
And again, this is New Year's Day, so it's very cold.
Did you sue?
No.
I would sue.
I was in my dry suit and I found a nice quarter-size hole in one of the seams under my arm the second I jumped in. So the entire experience was floating down, progressively getting colder as I was getting wetter. It was a very, very horrible experience. I mean, we went to lunch after that. Lunch was good.
You don't have any good water experiences, do you? Every story we've heard so far has never
few.
ended well.
He did say how much he enjoyed being waterboarded. So he's got one good water story.
No, not
One happy ending.
Not yet had that happen.
Well, let's
It's try save it. Oh yeah, I forgot you love
That's a
Brewery.
big
We'll save
can.
that one.
let's
try some beer
let's
from
save
a
the
foreign
let's
land.
save the no pressure there. So we do have, since we have the guest and we haven't even let him really speak too much. He's got some beers he brought us for us to try out. So which one is the first one we should try, and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we're going to start with Alexander. It's made by Schilling Beer Company in Littleton, New Hampshire. 5% ABV Czech style Pilsner. Crisp, clean, and sessionable with a firm but rounded hop backbone. Alexander is the first and original Czech style Pilsner crafted at Schilling. Authentic raw materials shine, and so will almost any beer-friendly food paired with this Czech-inspired lager. Schilling Beer Company is a modern European-inspired small batch brewery centered on family, community, and excellence, founded in 2013 by the Cousins family and their longtime friend, John Lenzini, Michigan natives
How
who
does he
moved.
spell his name?
Ooh, Michigan natives.
Lenzini, Lenzi.
No, first name. I don't care about last name.
Oh, John?
Yeah, how's he spell it?
It's a John, John.
Good man. Good man.
Michigan native who moved to the North Country over 15 years ago. Schilling name honors the cousin's beloved late grandfather. Also reflects the continental European experiences and inspirations foundational to the design of our beers and brewery. This place is awesome. Super German setup there. The food's incredible. They've got a side project called Resilience, and they do a lot more of like the New England style and experimental beers there. But Schilling itself does a lot of the traditional style beers. So
Nice.
yeah, it's this is one of my favorites.
Good crack. That's a firm can top. That is
It's
way later than I was
The
expecting.
cans are ice cold. Like I
Excellent.
picked up the can and it is very.
I think I
cold.
might need to turn my fridge down at home. Actually, they are very cold.
It's
I'm
great.
a huge proponent of cold beer. I like colder the better.
Yeah, and this is a crispy boy. So
The only
it's-
time, so I had one time my cousin and I were drinking out at a bonfire, and we were drinking. He had some liquor, and we're sitting there. I want to say it was Miller or something like that, and I finished the one I'm drinking, and I cracked the next one. I'm like, well, we're done drinking, and he got offended. He was insulted that I was done drinking at this little tent he was camping in bonfire. I'm like, no, you're not. Drink more. And he threw me another can. I'm like, dude. And I cracked it and I tipped it upside down. It had frozen. It was that cold out. The beer froze. We were not done by choice.
Yeah,
So we switched to liquor and kept drinking.
That is crisp. It's very
it's
crisp.
very good, super drinkable.
Very.
I enjoy it. I wish I had brought
like
a case home with me, but I didn't. So
Especially
It's very
a light
light.
beer. You know,
Mm-hmm.
when you got something that light, you want to have more than one. You don't want to just bring home one and be like, "Oh, that was tasty."
It's got that
Right.
nice hop finish at the end, though. That I like that a lot.
Is the smell off of that? Is that the hop smell, or is it more of the Ches style?
I'm
'Cause I keep trying to smell and figure out.
I was trying to smell it too, but then I think I was getting hints of the vanilla from the previous beer we had in here, and so I really didn't want to comment on the smell because I don't think I'm getting it entirely true. I guess you could say.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you. Although I did try to rinse out my glass, but
I've
I
rinsed
think I was
twice.
still getting some vanilla hints in there. But no, and you guys might notice this has a really good like slight bitter backing to it.
Yeah.
So you get all the crisp up front, and then all of a sudden it grows into that nice little bitter. I don't know what they used for hops in this one, but
It's got a little bit of dankness to it when I smell
Little
it.
bit,
yeah.
But try to get through the vanilla.
But it's not overpowering.
no.
No,
Like
it's
it,
nice.
it's very well balanced. There's nothing too dominant on it, but you know it's there.
Right.
It's very present.
Yeah. Trying to work from light to heavy here, but honestly, once we get past this one, they're basically all 8%. So
Oh, terrible!
Damn.
That's why it's called high gravity.
yeah,
It's a good way to be. You
Yeah.
know, I find a lot of times with imperial beers, because they're usually stouts or barley wines or things that are like really robust and flavorful, you can hide a lot of mistakes. And with like lagers and pilsners and things like that, like it's a lot harder to hide your mistakes.
yes,
And so, like, when, oh, good call with a clean glass, Darrell. Whenever, I've mentioned this before, I think when I go to a brewery, I like to, if they've got a lager and a stout, I like to order both those first and try them, because it's like, if your stout's bad, your lager's probably not going to be any good either. But it's I always find it's like a good, litmus test for
Yeah.
a brewery is like, this is a new place. How good are they? How well do they know how to make
I
their
finally
beer?
figured out where the Arctic place is too, by the way.
Oh, it's in New Baltimore?
Chesterfield there, yeah.
Oh, wow, that
different
smells
smell.
way different. Yeah.
So much better.
Smells way different without the vanilla on there. All right, well, we're going to have to get, we're going to have to start just having a whole lineup of glasses, I guess.
Switching them around.
this is that.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Oh, okay.
We just wanted to smell it because you can smell the difference. That was the vanilla back end
Okay.
Yeah,
from the previous beer. That smells really good.
That vanilla's intense. I
Must be
guess.
that one out. I rinsed enough of the vanilla out. I guess.
Think we're good now.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You just got to rinse it out with beer.
Yeah, good. May I see the can again, please? No, that is.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean, I love Czech style lagers, and I mean German beers just as well. Like German beer in general is like.
So I take back what I said because after wafting the glass, I do still smell the vanilla.
Yeah.
Smelling right from the can. Does anyone want more of this? Because there's not much left. I'll just kill it. Otherwise,
Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I like that a lot. Now, do you have other beers from that company as well, or are these all from different spots?
These are all different spots except for the last two. These are from the same place, but these next two will be from different places. So I try to get a little bit of a variety to bring back with me here.
Now, are any of these places a place that you brewed at?
No. The only place I ever brewed at was in Maryland.
Okay.
But these are all places that, over the years, especially since the craft beer boom happened, these are some of the most reliable places in the Northeast that have been successful and continue to make beer really well. Some places over there, they did well at first, and then they grew, and then their quality went downhill, and that gets disappointing. And but these are some solid things that have stayed consistent over the years, and which is why I wanted to showcase them a little bit. Like I said before, I would have loved to have brought a few more things from some other places, but didn't have the opportunity to grab these. Some places you have to go to get the beer they don't distribute, so I just didn't have the time. But next time I go home, I'll bring some different stuff back. So
how's the beer scene in general out there? Like, is it a lot of breweries or?
There's a lot, actually. That New England is, in my opinion, super oversaturated with breweries. However, for the most part, the beer scene there is awesome. I have a lot of friends that are in the beer community, and they all just like support each other, uplift each other, do events together. They have huge events where all the breweries will come to one spot and do these festivals and stuff like that. And
cool.
They all really do well together, and there's good friendships between them, and I think that's awesome because that's what brewing should be about.
Oh yeah,
it's not a competition.
It's a community.
It's a community, right? Exactly, and that's what I like to see amongst. I get all that exposure from some of my friends who are in the actual community there, so it's a lot of fun. So,
but I think craft beer enjoyers in general, like you're typically not going to find someone who's like, I only drink this one craft and that's it. Like you generally like to go to different places, drink different beers, try different things. So it almost doesn't make sense to, try to dominate the industry or try to be like the only guy in town. Like, I'm going to run everyone else out of business, so I'm the only brewery. Like,
right.
It's just, that doesn't seem like very indicative of the culture. So it's really nice to see the collaboration.
Some places, when they are the only ones in town, though, do dominate.
Well, I mean, it's true.
It's an unfair comparison, I guess.
You are the biggest duck on the pond if you're the only duck on the pond.
That's true.
Yeah, you do have your occasional chuckleheads, but I think people recognize that pretty quick.
Yeah, we've seen that here. We've talked about it before. I don't want to harp on that again, but there are some dickheads in the craft beer world.
My glass is empty.
I know, it's
What's
fucked.
our next beer?
All right, moving on here. So our next beer is called Sip of Sunshine from Lawson's Finest Liquids.
The can is so bright and
it is
happy.
It's very yellow.
Too bright for how little sleep.
It'll make sense in a minute when I describe this beer and why this can is yellow. So this it's 8%. These guys are out of Vermont. This lupulin-laden India Pale Ale is packed with juicy tropical fruit character, bright floral aromas, and delectable layers of hop flavor. What is lupulin, you ask? For those who don't know, lupulin is a fine yellow powder that comes from the hop's plant glands, which are located inside the hop cone. The glands, also known as glandular trichomes, contain hop acids and essential oils that give beer its flavor and aroma. Lupulin can be separated from the hop's green leaves, similar to pollen from a flower. Lupulin used in brewing can provide a cleaner, smoother flavor, and brightness has its advantages like less extraction time, reduced true loss, and fewer bittering isoalpha acids. So it is a good alternative for hop characteristic that won't affect your process too much, which is pretty cool.
I never knew that I've never had a beer actually that you just straight up lupulin. Do they use hops at all, or just
I'm
the
not
lupulin?
even familiar with that.
Yes, I would assume that they used a majority of lupulin probably in a.
That's cool.
I don't know.
So it's
I don't know
hops
where they
finale
used it.
stuff
It
is what
maybe
we're about to
maybe
drink.
Whirlpool edition. It may be some dry hopping,
Like
or
hop
whatever, but-
pollen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're talking about, bittering, fewer bittering alpha acids. They may have used it in the boiling process, and it doesn't affect the bitterness of the beer
I'm interested now.
very much.
I'm
Yeah,
highly intrigued.
it's cool. People have used it quite a bit now, but it's great. So crack this.
My
open.
my hops are just starting to get ripe, so maybe I should try making a small batch. Because I imagine extracting it more or less by hand would probably be tedious. You we do like a shaker thing, like a shaker screen.
Probably put it in one of your. Do you have one of those honeycomb spinner things?
Yeah, I have a honey spinner.
Put
It's
it in
got a
that.
nice golden color to it.
Yes.
Oh, it smells awesome.
Yeah, it's a very it's a very more these guys have been
ale.
around for quite a while. It's more of a classic style IPA. This wouldn't necessarily, in my opinion, be categorized as a New England style IPA as it is today.
I get a lot more like West Coast vibes out of the aroma than I do NEPA.
And these guys, they use Two Roads Brewing in Connecticut. Actually, they contract brew this beer for them. What was originally called Double Sunshine, adapted into Sip of Sunshine, and then they started brewing it in Connecticut. So
It smells just like a juice IPA.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
you would expect
Yeah.
out of a juice IPA.
yeah,
But it's
doesn't
not
finish like
yeah,
that,
it's
though.
not over the top like a lot of juicies. This is fantastic.
it's
Oh my
delicious.
God, yeah.
In my opinion, it used to be a lot better. I think the quality's gone downhill slightly, but it still tastes really good, and you kind of get that 8% is really shows there in the back end too. So.
The main difference is when I smell this and it smells like that juice, I'm expecting that high acids hitting my stomach,
Yeah.
just like you do all the hop oils. I drink this and it has the upfront taste of the acid, like the hoppiness, but it doesn't settle at all down
No.
like it.
no, it's
It finishes more
wonderful.
like a bitter IPA
Right.
than it does a juice, but it tastes up front like the juice.
I like this a lot.
That's fantastic.
good, yeah.
It's very the description was 100% spot on. You get like all that hop characteristic without like the
all that acid. In it.
hop burn. I
Yeah.
always like to call it. Wow, this is. I actually had something on Thursday. I went to a sushi bar in Detroit, and I took a picture of it because I was so excited about it. It was, what do they call it? Like a
Wow, I
West
like this.
Coast lager. Like it was like a West Coast IPA, but with lager yeast, and it was called Dutch Lunch. And I can't remember who it's from, but it reminds me a lot of this, where it's kind of like has that almost like juicy characteristic to it, but all the things you want and none of the ones you don't. And it was a lager, so it was lager yeast, thin, crisp. It was super interesting. I had to take a picture of it because I need to try it again and bring some for you guys. But not to distract from this, because this is fantastic.
Really good.
It's an IPA that I feel like I could actually drink several of, and
Yeah.
like with IPAs, it's like I'm kind of one and done.
I normally
you
get
know.
that stomach upset from
Yeah.
it. This, I don't see that happening.
So let's see. You're a home brewer, and the majority of ones you brought are some IPAs. I know we've talked before. You have a favorite specialty type IPA that you're passionate about?
Well, I definitely am passionate about the New England style and what people consider the New England style IPA. My brother and I talk about this quite a bit. He's my beer best friend. We started brewing together years ago, and he's my creative help. I don't know if you guys have heard of The Alchemist in Vermont, but they're about the Northeast mecca of beer.
Yes.
And they have been doing it the same way for a long time. They don't put out a lot of different kinds of beers. They don't charge a lot for their beers. If you go there, you can get a 4-pack of any of their beers. It doesn't matter what it is, for $13. And that's a
Very reasonable.
drastic
Yeah.
difference from a lot of these places. They're selling 4-packs of an 8% New England IPA for $22, $24, and that's a lot of money, right? So ingredients are expensive, but they've kept it consistent. And arguably, Heady Topper is the OG New England style IPA. It looks a bit different from what the New England style that's getting brewed today is, but still, I think they pioneered everything about that beer and what it is, and it's just explosions of hop characteristic and not too bitter. It keeps a very very mid grade bitterness, and the 8%'s good on that beer too. It hits you quick, but it's so good.
I like heady. I've never complained about it.
Yeah, no, it's good. Heady topper, and focal banger also is that's actually, I actually like that beer more than I do heady toppers. So, but with all the other things they have some variations of a few different beers. But they do such a great job there. It's always fun when I go home. I either split my time, like one trip I go home, I'll go to Vermont with my buddies, and we'll go up to the Burlington, Stowe area and get all those places. And then, another trip like the one I just took, we went up to Portland and did all the Portland places. So we went to Allagash and stuff like that. So, and Bissell Brothers, which is our next beer here.
I've had Allagash too, but I couldn't, I can't remember anything
Squirrel
specifically.
moment from last week, don't worry about it.
You describe about your relationship with your brother. I've got a friend we call Senpai who, taught me a lot about brewing beer and everything like that. And he's always introduced me to a lot of interesting beers and interesting styles, and his travels, going and getting beers from different places. And so I'm pretty sure actually he's probably the first person who gave me heady topper, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's good to have, have that relationship, especially it's cool that it's, with your brother,
Yes.
So you get to you can always be really honest with each other. It's not like necessarily like a friend or whatever where you might not want to hurt their feelings. It's your brother, you don't give a shit. I've always, told my brother shit straight up. I'm not trying to beat around the bush, and he's a lot bigger than me. He always has been.
Yeah. And he's the reason I got into brewing. And he was doing it before me, and he was really diving into it, and I really admire the road that he took to understanding beer and sharing his knowledge with me. And we kind of created a monster of a home brewing project together.
Nice.
Back when I was actually in New Hampshire in my home area, and we've since continued it on. And every beer that I brew, and I take the equipment with me everywhere, but I always consult him before I do anything, and I say, hey, this is my idea with this. What do you think about it? And he'll say, hey, adjust this with this, and blah blah blah. He's actually educated. I'm not. So I'm educated from reading. He's educated from actually, having a brewer certification and stuff like that.
My experience is exactly the same.
Yeah.
When I get a new recipe or something, or I'm working on a recipe, I'll send it to Senpai and be like, hey man, what do you think of this? That sounds good. Maybe this, that, or the other, change this. And and he's more classically trained and educated. And, I always like to say that, we all have our own brand of ADD. We get kind of we kind of focused in on something, and you just go, and that's his thing. He figured out. That's also a problem with the ADD is that sometimes you get the laser focus, and sometimes you get the scatter gun.
Yeah. And then there's rare occurrences that they both mesh, and you're just screwed. And broke all the time.
I kind of have that experience. I get obsessed with a hobby or something, and I go until a point where I'm the learning starts to slow down, and you start to lose that dopamine from new experiences, and then all of a sudden it's I'm bored with this, and you go on to the next thing, and you just hyper focus on it.
The hard part is to pick back up on old hobbies when you've been out of for a while. When you sit there and you get the self-doubt of, I have thousands of dollars in equipment sitting here.
Oh my, yes.
Let's pick that back up. Maybe utilize some of this.
I find I use a lot of excuses to escape from that. I haven't brewed a batch in the last couple of months because it's my propane burners, I'm out of propane.
I don't want to play that game.
I could drive 2 miles down the road and get more propane, but I'm I can't brew today. I don't have any propane.
Yeah, I have propane. And I have a 5-gallon beer kit sitting there, and I got a 1-gallon that I got at a yard sale for $2. And still sitting there.
Now,
but like we discussed before, though, my biggest problem is I don't have a lot of the circle of friends that like the home brew, going to people's houses and just
come over and we'll brew. Come over
I'm
and we'll
in.
brew some beer. That's fine.
But then I gotta dig all my shit out.
I have burners and everything. I have,
He just doesn't have propane.
Yeah,
Bring
you,
propane.
you just exactly. Bring propane and bring your
can.
ingredients. And I have so many brew pots and kegels and I have everything.
I
Now,
I got a 100-pound tank.
If I remember correctly, Darrell sent me a selfie and he might have been drinking.
Don't tell us any more about that. We
Was
don't
it a
want to know
black
what he said.
IPA?
It was. Yes.
Yes, it was. Because I was worried he was going to talk about the other one I sent him.
And you've mentioned you listen to the show. Like I'm a big black IPA fan. Like black IPAs, criminally underrated style. And so
They are.
I want to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah, so black IPAs are awesome. I'm a big fan of that, darker malt characteristic in a beer, and it's fun because you take a style like an IPA and then you add a complexity to it.
Yes.
Right. So you've got your hop characteristic going on, and I don't skimp on the hops at all when I do these beers, so they're exploding. But then you add that dark malt characteristic to it, and it just it's insane. So this one in particular, I brewed for a buddy, Jay. My buddy Jay, he actually him and I come in here all the time together, and we have been since I moved here. So, but that was his thing. I said, hey, what do you want to brew next? And he said, I want a black IPA, and I was like, okay. So I had a recipe that I had tried when I was in Maryland, and it came out pretty good, but I wasn't happy with it. And
I love that evolutionary process. Where you
Yeah.
make something and you're like, maybe this, that, and the other. It's great.
And I think what benefited me here is that it's been a few years. I was doing a bunch of stuff for a couple years that prevented me from being able to brew beer. So I basically came in with a fresh perspective on the recipe and was able to adjust a few things. And I can truly say this is one of the best beers that I've ever made.
I like the sounds
not
of
not
that.
just style, but it was really well executed. And
Can I crush your world, Jim? He didn't bring any for us to try.
Well, but obviously, or else it would be on the table. Like I'm already aware.
I wanted to tell you it wasn't any good so you didn't feel bad, but I can't do that beer injustice at all. It was good.
Yeah, no, I'm almost out of that one, but I'm gonna brew again soon. So I'm just trying to figure out. I'm actually thinking about making a New England style next.
That is something I've never had. I would be interested in a New England style black IPA. Oh, so that's
Not black IPA. These are all New England styles
New
right
England
here that
style
we're gonna
IPA.
try.
Yeah,
He's trying to come up with a
black
new one.
IPA.
Black IPA. That would be.
Well,
New England Black?
Before we get into those ones, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
What are we taking a break for? There's more beer.
I have to put an ad in here, damn it. I need ad breaks, remember we do that?
Here's to you, Beer Packaging Associate. You ensure that every can and bottle is perfectly sealed and ready for consumption. Your careful hands keep the frothy goodness inside, making sure every sip is as fresh as the last. Here's to you, the guardian of the good stuff, keeping the world happily hydrated.
If you didn't learn anything today, at least remember this. Beer is the answer that makes everything better.
Can't remember the question, but who cares when you have a cold one in your hand?
Remember, everybody, drink responsibly, drink high gravity.
Most importantly, drink well.
Okay, not the well. Life's too short for bad beers.
Stay frothy, my friends.